Previously on agentpalmer.com, if there is a hell, Tucker Max's book is probably there. Surprise, Amazon chooses profit over quality in wide Kindle crush. And have you thought of any more spies we left out of last episode? Because I've thought of a few. This is the Palmer Files, episode 174, with the return of one of my best friends, Jason Collins, who's back because a text conversation felt incomplete. And instead of a phone call, let's just podcast about video games and emulation, modding, physical media, and just generally remembering how it used to be. Are you ready? Let's do the show.
While we were discussing the whole thing,
when
you were asking me questions about the digital and everything, I was like, this sounds like an episode of your podcast. The emulators have come a long, long way since we were in college. They'll drag you through the chord system and make you less than broke. It's akin to looking at a painting in a museum. Yeah, I can appreciate the art of it. There's too many extra wires. I just want to plug in the main bits, turn it on, and game. I'm too old for this shit.
Hello and welcome to the Palmer Files. I'm your host, Jason Thurshik, also known as Agent Palmer, and on this 174th episode is the return of my good friend, Jason Collins. A while ago, I texted Collins about Switch 2 games because I wanted to own a physical game, and it didn't seem possible. That text chain would have and was simpler to have as a phone call, but we recorded it as this podcast instead. Things that arise from that initial thread, such as key cards and wanting to own games that you play, then dovetail into emulation and modding, physical media, LAN parties, and even how single player is now a feature we want more of. But before we get there, remember that if you want to discuss this episode as you listen or afterwards, you can find all related ways to contact Jason and myself in the show notes. You can see Jason play video games online at twitch.tv/Uriyel. That's URIYEL. Don't forget you can see all of my writings and rantings on agentpalmer.com, and of course, email can be sent to thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's get into it. Jason, I reached out to you via text because I did not understand Switch 2 games.
Yeah, I'm still trying to understand them.
Okay, and so I could tell you, Steph really wanted a Switch 2. Actually, Steph really wanted a Switch, but she bought a Switch Lite, and I wouldn't let her buy a Switch because I was like, but the 2 is going to come out, so wait. So we did, and that's what she got. And then she got her games, and I was like, I don't really know if I could get back into gaming, console gaming in that way. And then we just happened to be at a store, and I looked, and I was like, oh, they remade Dragon Quest 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm, they did.
And then I went online, and I was like, this looks amazing. And then I tried to look into what it would be to buy it for the Switch, and they were like, you can download it or buy a key card, and I got really confused because I wanted to own the game, but I don't think that's in the cards.
Not in this future. Yeah, the whole key card thing really, when they first announced the Switch 2 and the games, and then they just started talking about key cards, a lot of people got really pissed.
So it's just a card approximately the same size as what a game cartridge for the Switch would be?
It's legitimately the same thing, but the software is not on the card, just the activation key. And we can't just put the game on the thing. Apparently not. Apparently, so I guess when I did some more research into it, because there are some that do have the game software on the card, and then there's others that are just keys. And I thought, well, that's weird. Why aren't they just going one way or the other? And so when I was looking into it, I guess a lot of the third-party games that they're bringing over to the system are too large to fit. It's a storage thing. There's just not enough space on the card for some of the higher end games, particularly games like Cyberpunk 2077, which is several gigs. It goes over the capacity of the cards themselves.
Okay, so it's not like we're not talking about, hey, I have a micro SD card with the game on it. I'll just get a bigger one and charge you more money for the whole game.
Right, because the Switch cartridges themselves are a proprietary size, format, chip, board, you know what I mean? Same as like back in the day, GBA is different from GB, from 3DS. They're all different form factors.
Okay. So I look, I'm not by any stretch one of those people that's like, I need to own everything physically. But when it comes to games, I really do like to own it.
Yeah. Well, especially like handheld. Like the whole system is designed to be portable, so you want to be able to take it with you and play it offline, off net, disconnected from everything. But there's a lot of games that exist that just they're not even designed that way. They're meant to be played online on the internet, even portably. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about it because I didn't look. I've admitted to many people who are shocked by this, but I don't know why. I mean, everybody has their own like gaming trajectory, but mine, I was a PC gamer until I bought my first console when you knew me in college as the GameCube. Like before then, I was a PC gamer because I never owned an NES or a Super NES. Or I had friends that had those, but they were never mine. And then after the GameCube, I did kind of go back and get a PS2 and an Xbox. And then I upgraded to the Wii and the PS3. And that's where it stopped for me, really. I think I may have gotten a PS4. But I wanted a Blu-ray player. It wasn't even really just as a gaming thing.
I thought the PS3 did Blu-ray.
I don't know why. I upgraded for some reason. I can't. But that was it. That was it. So when I'm coming back to it, because I have access to a Switch 2 now.
Yeah.
Like, all right, maybe. And I there are certain games, like even if I couldn't physically own it, if they remade Dragon Quest 8. Curse of the Curse of the Cursed King or whatever, the Journey for the Cursed King or whatever. That one I would buy in a heartbeat.
Well, if they started with 1 and 2, it would not, and they've been remaking a lot of the Final Fantasy games. So Square Enix, it would not surprise me at all if they do the whole line.
Although Square Enix bothered me because I went on their website after our initial text chain, and what bothered me is they have static text regardless of console, so I could own the physical game if I bought it for like PlayStation, where I would get a disc. But when you change it to Switch 2, it still says you can buy a physical disc even though it's just a key card.
Oh,
but
they left that in there.
They left it in there on purpose just to confuse me even further. So I'm like, oh, but I can, but it is available, but it's not. It's not. It's not. I don't.
No. All that you find in the store that's physical is just packaging and a license key.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
No, a lot of people don't.
And there's I presume this is all just to track us. I mean, I know it's Nintendo, so I'm not going to immediately go to like, oh, they want to sell us stuff. But like they do want the tracking of in some capacity, right? Like
I don't think it's just that. I think it's a cost control. It's always been that way. It's always been the minds of the big media corporations that you don't really own the media. Like when it comes, even back as far as movies, when you wanted to watch a movie, you bought a ticket, you saw it in a movie theater. Then comes along the VCR. Same with cassette tapes. People would buy cassette tapes. Well, let's start with VCR. Remember the FBI warnings?
Oh yeah. You wouldn't steal a car.
Yeah. Well, you weren't even allowed to technically buy that and like have a party in your house with like 20 people to watch. You couldn't have a watch party. Technically, that was illegal.
Yeah, because you
were broadcasting it.
Yeah,
it was one. It was always meant to be
1-to-1.
1-to-1. But I mean, they weren't kicking in people's doors unless you were bootlegging. Then maybe they were probably doing things like that. But yeah, they didn't have any way to really police their revenue stream. But now that everything's going digital, they can. So it's the whole 1-to-1 thing all over again.
I feel like I would probably pay, but there has to be a monetary value. Like I was thinking about it, like I would probably pay pay a premium. Like I might even pay double to physically own the thing.
Yeah, but you wouldn't, because
they wouldn't offer it.
Just by playing it, you automatically agree to end user licensing.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I would pay double from the beginning to physically own the game as opposed to like half price to just download it and not have it. So
yeah,
you can make more money
I'm with
off
you
of
too. Yeah, I would say same thing. Like, and I've been doing that recently with some of the older stuff, and even my Switch 1 console. My kid's always super eager to download it because he can play it right now, and I'm like, well, can you wait till the weekend so we can go buy the physical copy? Because that way, if the power goes out, at least it's still got charge. It doesn't need internet. You don't have to go on the internet to play some of the games because they have story-based things, and you could still play them.
I also like the idea that down the road, if something bricks your Switch 1, well, you lose your save data. You could just take your game, buy another Switch 1, an old used Switch 1, and you're good to go. You're done.
Yeah, well, yes, but it's still that way, except that they maintain all that information on their side under your account. So every game that you buy, they convert into a digital game card.
Oh, regardless of if I have the physical or not?
Yep.
See, this is how far I've removed. So yeah, like my gaming, but really the high era of me was GameCube. So they were still running on a disc and there was no other thing. So that's where my brain comes from, I guess. I've been so out of the loop. And I know when we were, our initial thread, you brought up Minecraft. But I don't, there's a part of me, and maybe it's the PC gamer in me, like Minecraft's on my computer, and if I never update it again, I can play that version for forever as long as I have my hard drive.
That still holds true with the games, the digital games that you download and you buy and download. It's still on that system.
Even if I get a new device?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as the data is retained on the drive and inside the machine, then it's there. But like you said, if it bricks, then you have to find a way to get that installed again. Yeah, and if it's years and years and years down the road, like it is now with the 3DS has taken off in the mod community, and that's probably something we could touch on too, the whole mod community and preservation.
Well, that's the whole. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I'm so happy with. Is it GOG, which they have a lot of free stuff. They have some paid stuff. I think the last thing I got from there though was like somebody this is slightly different than the true modding community, but somebody rebuilt Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness for Windows 10 plus with multiplayer, so you didn't have to go reinstall an old DirectX for networking. You just play the full version, and I was like, this is great.
Yeah, and it's awesome that kind of thing happens, and that the younger generations are in on that with wanting to preserve and resurrecting things that have been since shut down. So for instance, like the Nintendo 3DS it's really super hot right now as a console because it's very mod friendly, and obviously when you buy the game card, the game's on there, you don't have to download it. And Nintendo shut their services down a while ago for that. So if you had a system that had a digital only copy and you lost that information on the device, you can't get it back. You have to go through back channels to reobtain that install. And when people start realizing that, and that's when the mod community steps in and the preservation communities, and they start trying to find ways to make it stick around.
Yeah.
Without the need of the corporation.
And I was streaming a year ago at this point. I was streaming Skies of Arcadia Legends on Dolphin. It was on the emulator because it was just easier than trying to. I own I didn't realize this until much later, but Skies of Arcadia is one of those like investment games. You can't buy the disc anymore for less than like $200 on eBay even.
It was probably one of those like cult following type games where there was only a small run, and because I hadn't heard of it until you were playing it.
Yeah, I didn't. I probably would have bought another copy. Like if
Had we known, yeah.
had we known. And so I do own it, and I still own the GameCube. I'd love to get one of my save files off of my GameCube disc, but that save memory card. That's a whole different thing. But I felt comfortable playing it more, or I should say I felt more comfortable playing with it because if anybody broke down my door, I'd be like, well, there's the game right there. Like, yep. I own it. There's my system. Like, this is just slightly easier and I can re-experience it. I did try a few other games through the Dolphin emulator because I was like, well, I might as well try some stuff. And I found that I bought a USB GameCube, like third-party controller, I guess. It's not that good. And the only reason I say that, it is, but it's not that good. And I discovered that because of one game. Back in 2004 was the last EA Major League Baseball game that they ever did before they lost their license to the show. And that was one of my favorite games, and I enjoyed GameCube as a console. And when in most baseball games, there's a pitching square where you can do stuff. I found out through trying to pitch on that game that my console, my USB controller is only good for certain games. Because even if you just cannot aim within the framework, and maybe it's the emulator, like maybe it's Dolphin, but it feels like more and more that it's probably the controller, and that's fine. If I want to play it, I still have my GameCube. I can still boot it up. But there are these small disconnects as far as like true user experience that you just need the actual console and the actual game to really experience. So all of that is to say, I don't think that the modding community and the emulation community is going to replace the actual hardware. It's just sometimes it makes it a little bit more accessible and easier to get. Yes.
Yeah. It gets as close as you possibly can to the physical as much as they're capable of achieving. And emulators have come a long way since we were in college. Oh, a lot of those wouldn't even run the ROMs half the time.
Yeah, and I think I remember reading articles that were like 1 in 4 ROMs is just spyware or spam or a virus. Yeah. Like it's
some of that's still out there too. Yeah.
Okay. And that's rough. You gotta
be careful. If you're gonna go messing around in that route, put it on another PC that is not connected to the internet, just in case.
Yeah, or just have a junk computer for that very purpose.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, just like an old scrapped one that isn't really doing much. Test it out there before you decide to put anything on your primary machine.
Now, I haven't actually done it yet because I didn't feel like taking apart my PS2. But I was interested in the fact that the main suggested PS2 emulator actually asks you for your like serial number of your actual PlayStation. The one that's most suggested that you like, the most stable one is like as long as you put in that you own one, or like the you have to unscrew something to get a serial number or something off your PlayStation. I was just like, I don't feel like doing this right now.
That's interesting.
And then I never got around to it, and it makes it feel a little more, I don't know what they're doing with that data. I assume it was just checking it, but
maybe it's just to cover their own ass. I don't know. It shouldn't roll back to the person that designed the tool, right? If somebody buys a car and runs somebody over, it's not the manufacturer's fault.
No.
So it's the same thing for the emulators. I know they keep trying to attack the developers.
Well, that's just because they don't have any, because they can't come after all of us. Like if they came after everybody with an emulator, they'd probably lose more than they'd gain versus. And there's been some, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like I know there's been some very like, hey, this was a very popular emulator or mod, and Nintendo came down on them, or so and so came down on them, and it feels like every 6 months, whatever the most popular one is, there's like an article saying like, well, Nintendo or Sony went after so and so, and it's like there's more of them. There's more modders and those kind of people out there than there are maybe Nintendo has as many lawyers, but
yeah, they got lawyers and money, and they'll drag you through the court system and make you less than broke as a developer. I've read about that, and a lot of them are smart. You know what I mean? They do the code, they do the thing, and then they release it into the wild and let the community pick up the pieces. So, like you said, they can't stop everybody.
Now, I want to ask you a question, and I would assume the statute of limitations is up on this, but technically, when you switched out your GameCube to play the Japanese version of Wind Waker before it was released in the States, that technically considered modding? Or would that...
Yeah, that was modding.
Okay. Was that technically also is that against the terms of service? Like you didn't rewire, it was a switch basically. Like
I didn't technically I'm not sure what the laws were on it at the time. I think they're harsher now than they were then. All I was really doing was like, I avoided my warranty.
Okay. Yeah.
They weren't going to support the hardware. Yeah. They weren't going to support the hardware if I fried the board.
Yeah.
I don't recall if there was anything saying you're allowed to do this or you're not allowed to do this. It's just like, if you do this, you're on your own.
How did you figure it out on your own, or was that like an internet thing? Like somebody had done it and you were like, I can do this?
Yeah, I stumbled on it on the internet around the time that Wind Waker was due to launch in Japan. And I had seen other forum posts of people doing it for other Japanese titles. And I was like, oh. And then I looked at it like a small guide that they wrote up. There's just a bunch of pictures and some text. And I was like, that doesn't actually look that hard. So I printed it out, and I think it was over like Thanksgiving vacation or Christmas vacation when I was at home at my parents'. And I commandeered their kitchen counter, and I had parts laying all over, wires, and I'm just sitting there soldering away. It was 2 leads on the board, and that was it. But they were very, very tiny, very, very tiny wires.
Did you put a switch in?
I did. I decided to take it a step over because they were just hard soldering the 2 points, but that would only stick it in Japanese mode permanently.
Okay.
So I just installed a small little switch so that I could switch back and forth between the 2 regions.
Did you also put LEDs in your GameCube as well?
Yeah, I did. I was toying around with that idea too, so that when you plugged it in, they would light up the little dots on which controller port was plugged in.
Look how ahead of the game you were. Now you can't get a tower without LEDs in it.
Yeah, and now you kind of want to. It's like I'm when I build a new PC, I'm like, I don't want RGB. There's too many extra wires. I just want to plug in the main bits, turn it on, and game. I'm too old for this shit.
So, was that the last like hardware modding you've done? I'm not talking about computer stuff, but like for consoles?
No. So, the Switch Joy-Cons, this pink one still needs surgery. So that's why it's sitting on my desk. They have a terrible drift problem.
Okay.
After a period of use, like your character will just like say like the right stick, it's in neutral position, but the camera's slowly moving. Okay. It's panning, and no matter how much you recalibrate it software wise in the system or the firmware updates, the mod community discovered that it's really a mechanical issue in these particular analog sticks that they got from whichever manufacturer. So I found through them that there is an entirely different magnetic style switch. Okay. Same housing, but the inner workings are magnetic versus whatever this other one is. I can't remember what it's called. And they were fairly cheap on Amazon. I think it was like $40 and you get like 4 new Joy-Con sticks.
Okay. You just have to actually, take it apart.
Rip it open. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of tiny workings in there. There's a lot of little ribbon cables that are the exact measurements. So like you need tweezers to get them back into their little ZIF sockets at just the right angle to close them back up. But Yeah, I have two in there that I replaced that because the kid was having a terrible time playing games with the drift, and I replaced those two, and not a hint of drift ever since.
Oh, nice.
So it really was a hardware issue that Nintendo wasn't really addressing, I guess, with them for whatever reason. But there are aftermarket parts out there that make the experience better.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, regardless of how you look at it, whether it's the actual hardware modding or the software emulation, like most of this stuff is about accessibility. Like I genuinely, and a lot of the time I will pay money for this stuff because it's the kind of thing like you're looking for a quality of life update. And it's like, this just makes it easier. Like, that's fine. Like, let's do it. And you have the technical know-how. I'm sure if I had I don't have the patience for that kind of small stuff. I think that's where my thing would be. I've done enough with computers that I think if it was on a bigger scale, I might be able to do it. But there's a lot of patience when things are small.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My back hurt after that from being bent over in stiff position for too long because I'm like, the screws are super tiny. One of them stripped. I had to drill that one out. Thankfully, the kit that I bought with the new sticks came with a bag of replacement screws, which was nice. And some of them, it's just like you have to almost have it closed when you put the cable back together because it's just so
perfect.
Yeah, it's just so perfectly engineered. So yeah, but now that I've done it a few times, it's not so bad.
So let me ask you about where you started with movies, music. I mean, do you still buy physical stuff? Movie DVDs, Blu-rays, albums?
Not movies, no. Not TV shows, like box sets of TV shows. Not really. I tend to watch those things like one time over, and that's good for me. Video games, obviously PC gaming, everything's digital. It's been digital for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I think one of the last physical copies of a PC game I bought was one of the World of Warcraft expansions.
Okay.
Even those went all digital at one point. They just stopped making physical box sets for things because it's not cost effective for them.
Yeah.
And to distribute it.
Music?
I don't buy anything there either. It's all plugged in live stream. I have my Spotify subscription and then I just download local. Like I don't use my cell data. I'll grab it here while I'm on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And it's just a glorified MP3 player.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a paid version of Napster when you think about it.
Yeah, that's exactly. I've been thinking about it. So for at least 3 or 4 years now, I've been listening to albums on the daily. And I have a map basically of like this is what I'm going to listen to next. I know what I'm listening to for the next like 40 days and then I got to make a new list, but I have found a lot of what I consider track by track perfect albums. Like there's a lot of them. And if I was to, I'm starting to think about like, well, what's next? Cause obviously most of these I've listened to on Spotify. Some of them, I got lucky and I had a digital copy on what is my music solid state drive basically for like some maybe more rare things or a few unreleased things. But it is a thing where I'm like, all right, so like these are the albums I would want to return to. So What does that mean? Because I remember one of the reasons that we jumped to Spotify was because even with paid Amazon, albums would appear and disappear.
Yes.
And as much as I use Spotify now, because of my experience with Amazon, I don't trust Spotify. Like I don't trust that like this album is going to be available in 3 years, maybe when I want to revisit it. And even to that extent, I still have all my CDs or my original CD music collection from the heyday of the 90s. And the other day I was thinking about, I have a apparently very specific Iron Maiden best of.
Oh.
Because, and I only know this because there is a live version of Fear of the Dark that I love. And I went looking for it. So I went on Spotify and I just looked up like Iron Maiden. I was like, all right, Number of the Beast, live. Hit play on it. And I was like, that's not it. Like I know what this live version is. And I did eventually find it after some searching, but apparently the best of that I have, and I don't know what makes it special, is not available on Spotify as it is. Somebody made a playlist that contains the songs of that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't exist. And it's that kind of stuff that makes me think like, all right, well, maybe I should kind of maybe invest in some of these. I can rip them and, have them on a SSD forever, or I could put in the CD, whatever. But like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, okay. So like, this still isn't forever.
No. Yeah. And, so it's nice because in that respect, you can still buy vinyl. Vinyl made a huge comeback, and a lot of newer albums are coming out on vinyl. So you could even start collecting new music. I think if you try to find old reproductions like that, you're going to run into that situation even on a physical copy, because whoever produces it currently may not have that track anymore like you had when they got it. So,
okay.
You know what I mean? Like you could probably buy that same album on vinyl, and it's gonna sound like what you heard on Spotify, which wasn't the same song that you were looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's and the price tags on that old media just goes up, especially those specialty things like that.
Well, I think even the CDs, like if I just said, all right, there's, I don't know, let's say I've listened to, 1,000 albums over the last 5 years. And there's 100 that I want to collect because I starred them as what I consider perfect. That's not $2,000. Like that's not $20 for 100. That the math doesn't add up because we're not in the heyday of CDs anymore. And even, they're not being reprinted. So everything's going to be used unless it's an album from the last 10 years that happened to be released on CD. But I think you're more likely to find something from the last 10 years on vinyl than you are CD.
Yeah,
I would guess.
Yeah, and that's just because it's a niche market. Like they know they can make money with it. People want to buy CDs. Even cassettes are making a comeback.
Yeah, and I have a cassette player. I had to. I actually rebought, or I didn't rebuy. I bought a new cassette player because my old cassette player was just eating my tapes. And look, I have a podcast, I have a mixer, I have ways to digitize on tape. It's in real time. So but you still want something that will actually play the thing. And so that's
destroy it.
Well, hey, as long as I get it once, right? Like it's
true. Once it's digitized, then you got it.
Yeah. I mean, I am thankful because, as a very specific, very niche cassette, I still have the Ninja Turtles Pizza Hut coming out of their shells cassette.
That's awesome.
But thankfully, it is available on Spotify because my cassette from, 12-year-old, 10-year-old me, 12-year-old me is warped. You can,
oh yeah,
I killed that thing.
Does it have Scotch tape on it anywhere?
No, I didn't get that far, but you can definitely hear, like the last time I played it, I was like, none of this sounds in any kind of it's almost like the drummer's drunk. There's no solid beat to any of the tracks.
That's awesome.
So I'm somewhat thankful. And I think there's enough kind of preservationists out there that where we were talking about games being saved. I think some of this music and some of these movies are being saved. I mean, look, I'll say, the Internet Archive has movies and albums on it.
Yeah.
Like you can do some searches there that you're just
games.
Like, and games.
There's games there too.
And I'm occasionally I'll just look there. If something's not on Just Watch and it's like not available, I'll go to Internet Archive and see like what's available.
Yeah. I just recently had an experience with that where I found a game somebody pointed me to a game on there that I would want to play, and it was one of the Transformers games from High Moon Studio that up and disappeared from all digital stores. Like you can't buy it on Steam. It was in the like 2009ish in the Xbox 360 era. And I had physical versions of them, but I traded all those in long ago. And I was like, oh, I could just get on Steam. It's no longer for sale on Steam. If you can find a Steam key, which run about $400 or $500 now because there's so few of them.
But you can still. So if you have a key, you can still get it from Steam.
Yeah, you can still download it. Like they still house the install data.
Okay,
but they don't sell it.
So you can't get a key. So you can't.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually did that with 2 games when the cost of the key was still low. I did it with Ghostbusters from 2009.
Okay.
And which was eventually remastered in 2014 and put out on like Epic Games and stuff. But the Transformers ones, apparently, I can't remember which studio had it. Acclaim, starting with A. They, at some point, they think they came out with a press release and said they weren't even sure where the files were for the game to like give it an HD remaster and re-release.
And we talk about reading up on the news, and I'm not like the biggest gamer news person, but like occasionally you read these stories about like, oh yeah, we were gonna do this, but we can't find the files.
Yeah.
It's just like,
so
what?
I'm like, that is super disappointing. So to get back to that, they do exist on Internet Archive, but I was a little skeptical about the install methods because you have to install a hacked binary.
Okay.
To load it where it doesn't look for like a license key and stuff like that. Basically like the old cracking days.
Oh, I remember. I mean, look, and for anybody who's not familiar, the old cracking days, and the last thing I cracked, which is now, thank God, more than a decade ago, was Adobe Creative Suite 3.
Yeah, I think I had the same one.
Yeah, I think we all passed it around. But it was basically you ran the install as normal, but you didn't register it, and then you replaced the .exe file with a very specific exe file that didn't check.
One that was reverse engineered by masked men on the internet that you weren't sure their intentions.
Yeah.
In those days, it was less malicious. They really were just trying to stick it to the man.
Well, it was all in those days.
Away for free.
There was never a guarantee your computer was on the internet, so like,
yep,
you could just put it on a computer, and it was just like, all right, here you go.
Yeah, but nowadays they like to bundle a lot of those malicious groups. Try to use that to steal passwords off your machine, and so they bundle malware, that little sleeper rootkits and everything, so that they can remote into your computer when you're not even aware of it. And that one looked a little sketchy. I ran it through a sandbox that does malware scanning, and it had a few hits on it. And I read through the comments section on the archive, and some people were saying like, hey, the game doesn't load, like it flashes and then it goes away. I'm like, well, there's a sure sign that there's malware. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm like, maybe I'm not going to mess with this. Maybe I'll just wait. If I happen to find a physical copy somewhere out in the wild, I'll grab it, maybe find a console somewhere down the line, but I'm not going to risk my system to play an old game, even though they were the best Transformers games that ever existed.
Now, here's a question, and I only asked because when I had my last full-time job and I was just getting into podcasting and I was basically just not sleeping. You come home from your day job and then your hobby kicks in for a few hours. Occasionally, as like on my second screen at work, I would put on like YouTube playthroughs of Skies of Arcadia as an example, just with no commentary. There are people out there that play these games through and you can just watch, and it's almost like you're playing, but you're not. It's just kind of like if I was watching you play, right? That kind of a thing. And so does that exist for the Transformers games? You can still, you don't get to play it, but you can still kind of not experience it, but you can still kind of be there.
I could, it's akin to looking at a painting in a museum. Yeah, I can appreciate the art of it.
I mean, as long as that stuff still exists too. I mean, that's the other thing. Not every game has that ability. Like not everybody's there's not a YouTuber. I mean, there are plenty of YouTubers, but not every game has been played through in that kind of quiet way or clean way. So some of them you're going to have to like put on mute. The music is half of the battle in some of these games.
That's true. Hey, maybe that's a good preservationist hobby for somebody out there. Find those games that aren't on YouTube and make a whole channel dedicated to just full walkthrough. No commentary, no nothing, just the game. Your YouTube channel could blow up.
I'm sure
they probably won't be able to monetize that now that I think about it.
I don't. Yeah, but you say that, but I'm sure I got ads on every kind of like walkthrough I've watched.
Oh, they'll still play the ads. YouTube's still going to make their money.
Oh, it just doesn't go back to the channel. You're not going to get any of it, but
yeah.
We're always going to find a way.
Yeah, and they'll still get theirs.
Yeah. So, I mean, we started in gaming. Like, I mean, you're still playing games, so
every day,
and you're not necessarily getting physical copies anymore. So I have to ask, because I know it's a holdup for me. Like, were you just like, I want to play games and I'll just deal with the fact that I can't fit? Like, how'd you get over it?
I think I just kind of lived through it, because I never stopped playing games ever. Like I since the day I could hold an Atari 2600 joystick, I played games every day of my life.
Okay.
So
this is just the new way to play games.
It's just it's just like, all right, well, this game's on this system, so you either need that console, or if you're doing PC, then it's a download, because that's just the way they're distributed. It just kind of adapted with the changes that the corporation set forth. Now, I won't say that I don't buy physical copies, because I found through those experiences of things disappearing from stores that I want to start owning more physical media as well, for all the same reasons that we're already discussing. So with my Switch, when you buy the Switch bundles, they give you a game with the Switch, but those aren't physical copies anymore either. They're digital keys.
Yeah.
So you get the system, you bring it home, you still have to download the game. But what I've done is, any newer games that I want to get, at least for the Switch, for Nintendo, because they're the only company that's really still putting out physical media. I guess Sony is too, with the PS4 and Xbox too, but they're also trying to get away from it.
I mean, I guess the question would be,
doing it. So I'm buying them physically if I can.
What if I decided to buy a PS5 for the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remake that I talked about, that says it comes with a disc, and I'm sure it does. Like, what's on it? Is that disc just a key too? Like, I mean,
I don't know. I think I should have to look into it on the Sony side of things.
I mean, I went through the Square Enix site because I was like, well, I'll go to the source, but that's a lot of marketing speak. And by the way, like, as we're recording this, I mean, when I was doing my research, I learned that Dragon Quest / Dragon Warrior turns 40 this year. So there will be apparently announcements coming.
Yeah, there'll probably be some 40th edition physical media coming out, like with like a whole collector's set. You might be better off waiting.
I mean, at this point, I am waiting. I did tell Steph, I was like, 8's the one. Like, 8's the one that like I played 1 and 2. Same with Final Fantasy on the Game Boy. Like, on the Game Boy, they were expansive worlds on tiny cartridges.
Yeah.
And then I skipped. I never went back to Final Fantasy after 2. And then I skipped for Dragon. Well, I knew it as Dragon Warrior. So like when people were like, Dragon Quest is the same thing, I was like, really? Like, it sounds.
I had to look that up too.
Yeah, I was like, I'm a little skeptical because, you know, so it was whatever 8 was on the PS2 was my like jump back in, and I was like, oh, this is great. But again, and here's the thing about physical media that's very important, and I think this is also a storefront thing. Steph has been asking me since we got the Switch 2. She's like, do you want a game for you that you can play on? Like, we play Mario Kart on it. We play Mario Party on it. Like, we play games together on it. But she's like, is there a game for you? And I was like, I don't know. Because like when you go online to buy stuff, they show you based on what you're searching. But as someone who's been so far removed from gaming basically since college and the GameCube, I don't know what's out. I don't know what I'm looking for. So I discovered the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remake while we were walking through Target because I saw well, while it's not the physical disc, I did see the physical packaging.
Right.
And that was how I discovered it existed. Unless I see an article about it, there's no way I'm like, oh, I'm sure they remade Dragon Quest by now. Let me look that up on the Switch too. That's just not a thing I'm going to think about. Rather, I love Quake. I'm never going to be like, I wonder if they remade Quake for the Switch too. Like, it's just not a thing I'm going to think about. So I need that kind of random discoverability that's not search related the way the internet's set up. I needed that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different way. By the way, if you want to come over for a LAN party.
I mean, lugging so much stuff.
Oh my God. I mean, that's the only good news about some of the connectedness and onlineness of this game is like, of games now is like, if I wanted to play Quake 1, there are mods out there where I can play Quake 1 the same way we're recording via the distance. And it's just, we just connect to a server somewhere in North America or whatever, and we're good to go. And I don't have to lug an entire tower to your house the way it used to be.
There's a lot to be said about still doing that, though. We used to do it before COVID. I did it with a couple guys around here. The one guy owns, his family owns a hardware store, and they have like rental space up at the top of their business where they rent out to other companies, and they had unoccupied space, and we would get together like once or twice a year for one night and just go there, and they'd get shit faced, and we'd just play video games, and we'd throw empty beer cans around at each other, and just, it was still fun. It's still fun, but then like we're also older, and then it's like, oh, it's time to pack up and drive home at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I don't want to lug all this shit.
Now the power of a laptop has changed, so we don't necessarily need towers anymore.
No,
I mean, when you and I were in our heyday of LAN parties, I think most laptops would have melted on any of the games we were probably playing.
A lot of them couldn't even run the games.
So now the fact that you could get a laptop that could do that does kind of make it a little bit easier on our backs, especially when you don't have to but we're not carrying CRTs around anyway. These monitors are so light, dude.
That's true. Yeah. The monitors are light. You could also hook the monitor up to the laptop. So yeah, you could reduce the amount of equipment you have to bring, but we get a little crazy. We're bringing our own chairs. Like you want to be comfortable, you know what I mean? Like we can't sit on those metal fold out shits anymore. The tables are the same, you know, the long white fold out tables are all still the same, but everything else is like, oh no, I got to bring my nice leather chair. I got to do this. I got to do that.
Well, I mean, I guess that's if anybody I know ever opens up a coffee shop, I should just be like, you should have a gaming LAN party set up that people can rent out. That'd be great.
Just have little stations, and you can just leave all the peripherals there, like the monitors, and then they can just bring the tower and plug it in, and have some nice chairs.
I remember when I worked at the Magic/comic store when I was in high school, we had, well, middle, high school, whatever. We had 3 networked computers people could buy, rent computer time on. Mm-hmm. We had, I mean, the games of the day were Duke Nukem 3D, Quake 1, Diablo 1, and Warcraft Tides of Darkness. That was what people wanted to play against each other.
And it was stuff that didn't require any like personalized account creation.
No.
So you could literally sit down at any machine, jump in and play.
And if you wanted to, because of the way the computers were set up, like if I always played with you, your character was saved on this PC, mine was on this PC, and as long as we sat down at those PCs, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess there's, I mean, we sound like old men, like thinking back on the day, but it was simpler. And I mean that genuinely. Like there was a part of it that was a little bit simpler. For as easy as it is to just install something from the cloud right now and connect to you and play, sitting across from you in the same room with a game that we both bought and a shared network, that was pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's extra layers of complexity now for a lot of the games.
And that's the other thing is we've come full circle. We're now the other way around, which is there a single player version of this? Like, we used to be very excited when we could play with someone else. And now the idea of a single player game is very appealing to me.
Oh, 100%. Like I wait and watch for certain titles to come out that are strictly solo. Like, man, what was the last good one? Well, the last good ones I played was like Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
And if you're looking for it's not even a Switch 2 game, but they do have the Switch 2 upgrade fidelity pack. That is a game you can buy a physical copy of on a Switch 2 version, and I highly recommend you get it.
Why? Why is that the one?
It's Legend of Zelda.
All right.
It's open world.
No, I mean, but why is that the one I can get a physical of and not like something else? Like, why is that the one Nintendo's like, oh, but we'll let you have a physical copy of this?
Well, they it seems to be the majority of their titles are not. They are the traditional media is on
the game, the cartridge.
The game.
Okay.
Because they're building the games to their specs. The third party companies, they're ports.
I gotcha. So they're like, you don't have enough space, or you do, or yeah.
That's how they're bridging the gap for their partners, so that they can still make money on third party games without the limitation on the developer. Because think about it, in that kind of a business relationship, you want them to bring their game over, but if you impose restrictions on them, they might say, nah, we're not going to do it. It's a lose-lose for the both of them. So it does make sense, and I get it. But yeah, so I know Legend of Zelda games, the Pokemon games, I think even the new Donkey Kong game, they are all physical. So you can buy them, own them, and they're there. And I just recommend Zelda because like it's a play at your own pace. You explore. There's no rush. You get to experience a super rich story. Just a highly recommended game.
This conversation was, I'll admit, a little more one-sided than usual, because while Collins is not the spokesman for the games industry or physical media or modding, he is my expert, and these conversations happen all the time with our own personal experts. We know people that know more than us about a thing, and we go to them, and we really just pepper them with questions, and when we don't understand, we just keep talking to try and straighten ourselves out with the help of our expert. I have been on both sides of this conversation in that, in this case, Collins knows more than me, and at other times, I've been the one to sit in his seat. We are all and have experts in our life that we go to, and they know who they are. To the initial issue of physical video game discs, not counting keycards, I haven't parsed an answer for myself yet. The same is true of how I'm going to treat physical media going forward, though I do prefer physical to digital, and when it comes to something I love, I prefer physical media to the unpredictability of streaming. Are you a gamer? Are you comfortable with keycards? Do you hold out for physical media when possible or skip it if it's not? When it comes to physical media, movies, music, books, how are you handling the ease of accessibility of online and streaming and digital versus its own impermanence? These are some of the questions of our time from a consumer side. Our media overlords may have other ideas, but as the conversation you just listened to proves, we don't have to follow. I did and still kind of do want the Dragon Quest remasters, but without a physical game disc, I'm not likely to spend any money. We don't have to buy stuff that isn't in the format we want. We have that choice. So, where do you stand? Does it matter? Do you care what format you buy, or do you just want what you want? Let me know. Thanks for listening to the Palmer Files episode 174, and now for the official business. The Palmer Files releases every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. If you're still listening, I encourage you to join the discussion. You can find all related ways to contact Jason or myself in the show notes. You can see Jason play video games online at twitch.tv/Uriyel. That's Uriyel. The music for this episode was provided by Henno Heitur. Email and comments can be sent to this show at thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. And remember, your home for all things things Agent Palmer is agentpalmer.com. All right, Jason, you got one final question for me?
Yeah, so I've been going back to more physical media where I can find it. You're obviously in the same boat where, you want to retain that as well. So in my travels, when I'm looking for older media, is there anything you are on the lookout for that I can keep my eyes open for as well?
So, first of all, it's a smaller, maybe circle of physical media than it used to be. Because I've been slowly downsizing the crap in my house, despite the fact that I want more physical media that will be in my house.
Right.
But as part of that, I have a GameCube and a Wii, which is basically my backup GameCube at this point.
Yeah.
And a PlayStation 2 and a PlayStation 3 and 4. I got rid of my Xbox. I got rid of a lot of other console stuff. In fact, I may have even gotten rid of the PlayStation 2 because the 3 is backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of downsized a little bit because I was like, I'm not like I had the Futurama game on Xbox, but I'm not keeping an entire Xbox for one game. Also, when I traded it in, I got like $50 for that game. I was like, yay.
Nice.
I don't know. I can certainly think about like what it is right now. It's kind of all shifted to music. So I'm kind of starting to look for maybe CDs, although I don't know what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a CD. Cause I know it's like, I feel like maybe more than games and movies, CDs are like the biggest X factor when you're going to get them used. Are they scratched? Are they legitimate? Are they, back when we were in college, I remember you could print on a CD.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but if I really wanted to, instead of the old white face blue Memorex where you just write on Sharpie, this is, I don't know, the Korn album or whatever, like you could get a blank CD that you could print on and make it look pretty convincing to the original.
True.
But I think it would be like CDs. I think it would be music based right now.
Okay.
And I don't even know. I guess the other thing is too, I say that because I do think I want to maybe limit my reliance on Spotify for the archive of things I like. But at the same time, I'm sitting in a house where I'm pretty sure I got rid of the jewel cases on most of my movies and CDs. Like I have them in binders now. So
yeah,
I'm basically saying, yeah, Jay, here's an album. Go look for it for me. But I don't really need the jewel case. I just need the CD.
The CD itself. Yeah.
And so that's a weird part about it. Cause I know that a lot of people, if they say like, oh, I want physical media, they want all of it. They want the jewel case. They want this, that, and the other thing. But then again, I say that, and I think it came up on a podcast recently, but like I have a shoebox with all the CD booklets.
Yeah.
Like I kept them when I got rid of the jewel cases.
Yep.
So there's, I guess, yeah, probably CDs if I was going to say anything, but that's, again, I guess it's a little bit of a crapshoot, but I don't know. I'm not there yet. I haven't made the decision because, I should say this. I know it won't be vinyl. And I know it won't be cassette Because as cool as I think the cassette could be, I don't know that I want to go down that road again.
There's those trappings of mechanical failure.
Well, that's the other thing too. VHS and cassette tapes, especially if you have an older one, weren't all mechanical. So most of them probably won't work now anyway because the rubber's rotted.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was that was the drive mechanic on most of those things.
Mm-hmm. Well, cassette was plastic. The heads were plastic.
Well, the heads were plastic.
Well, the good ones were metal.
But some of the drives within that kept it turning were rubber. In fact, a few years ago, I put it on the curb. Steph had an all-in-one wooden cabinet that she only used for vinyl. But the vinyl drive rubber band dry rotted out, basically.
Yeah. And
to replace it, because it was an all-in-one and not just a record player, you had to take the whole thing apart. And I was like, I'm just going to put this. Somebody will take it. It's fine. I'm not like
their problem now.
We have an actual record player in my office. It's fine. So we still can play that stuff. I don't know. I'm in this weird place. I do want to get rid of some stuff. I feel like I've collected way too much crap over the course of my life. But then we have this entire episode where I'm like, but I'm afraid of my reliance on Spotify and digital things. So I don't know. That's weird coming to terms with both of those wantings.
You can, though. You can. You just got to be very selective about what you want to keep.
Yeah. What are you looking for? I mean, is it mainly gaming stuff?
I think, mainly gaming. I still have all my old CDs too, and they're in the jewel cases. They're up in a box in the attic.
Okay.
So my music library is pretty stocked. Can't say I have anything to play them on right now, but they're there. I
have at least 2 Discmen in this house that both work. So if you want one.
Maybe I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my eyes open for yard sales come spring. And I'm just going to start looking for a lot of this kind of stuff that people are getting rid of.
Are you going to get an actual stereo?
I'm going to go treasure hunting.
You're going to get an actual stereo? Like a stereo, like a stack stereo, like what our parents had when we grew up?
Like the one I had in the college dorm that I brought, that the glass exploded on when Dan was practicing. It just blew up on him out of nowhere.
I mean, first
that's actually still at my mom's house, that unit.
Okay. I mean, I was going to say first, in order to get the stereo, you need to start looking for people that are giving away the glass case thing. It doesn't have glass though, or is it?
I don't care. I know. I just don't. I don't need a glass door to play a CD. I need the CD player. The 5-disc changer's still there. I think it still works. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that would be.
I don't even think she's used it really.
So my dad started looking at these online auctions, these online yard sales.
Yeah.
And occasionally there'll be one that's like very, very electronic rich, so to speak. And it's like, here's 5 tuners, 4 like stereos. And it's just like, wow. Like some of that stuff it looks amazing.
Yeah.
So on that note, I'd like to have, I have a stereo. My stereo from college is behind me. And instead of it being hooked up to a TV and everything else, it's hooked up to a record player, an Alexa.
Old meets new.
Yeah, it's like, all right, and it's got a line in from one of those Discmen that works to a line out on the Discman in case I want to play CDs.
Nice.
So it's like, I mean, I guess, yeah, you're right. It's finding whatever that balance is. It's a weird thing. But let me know, because I'll say this: as much as I'm really hard to pull the trigger on stuff, especially the yard sale stuff, it's so much fun to look.
It is, yeah.
I don't know why I want to look, because I really don't want stuff, but at the same time, it's like some of this stuff is really cool. So
just got to be selective. That's all.
Yeah.